sure win this draft. It's not that trivial. They decide to go for a little bit more of a suffering mid lane matchup to get a strong lane top side. One of the advantages for Griffin to do this is the most graphically disparate in terms of geography.
Yeah.
It's the furthest away from the bot lane that should be pushed in, so it gives Jace a very clear target of where to play.
And also the last minute switch means that they're going to keep it up into the air until very, very late in this draft. It means Chovy will be on our Vladimir in the mid lane, and Sword will remain on that Jace, as we'd expect for Griffin especially. A different look, but certainly a Griffin draft if you look at it, right? If anyone's going to pilot the Sona Taric, it is going to be Griffin, as this is the answer on the side of Sandbox. Sylas, super high power, and in the hands of Summit as well. No question mark for me when it comes to who's going to be playing Sylas, because Summit is too good.
And no question on what to cue the viewers from my side. The jungle matchup decides this one. If Olaf gets going, Sona Taric have a long leash, they farm up, and they win late game. And late game is a Griffin certainty. However, if Olaf falls behind, the whole draft could fall apart.
Well, see what happens here as we get onto the Rift for game number 1. Been changing it up a bit with when we're doing our fan chants, as we have a look at the skybox to see the beautiful LCK logo.
Keeping us on our feet as casters and the fans as well as the...
I like the idea of just mixing it up, though. You know, have just a different perspective each time. Means that the callers for the fan chants have to be on the ball.
Well, Viper's not mixing it up when it comes to Keystone. There is actually a pushback from some Sona players to go back to Summoner Aerie. It's always been God tier on Sona because she has so many different ways.
Yeah, you can use it in every way possible, yeah.
And then she also loves Forbidden Idol and shielding and healing. And then she has shields, heals, more shields with Aerie, more Ardent Sensor, which she's so good at proccing as the game goes on. But the Kleptomancy and the Frostmancy duo of spells makes a lot of sense there. Looking over to the Vladimir, Unsealed Spellbook Vladimir. More and more is becoming a thing.
It's the third one we've had so far.
It means you can be Ghost Flash Vladimir, and that means that in team fights, you're going to get to the back line by hook or by crook. So, given that other runes aren't high enough power level for this to be a big kind of swap away, just feels like we're back in the old Unsealed Spellbook meta where we had 5 a game from time to time.
And also means that you get a bit more tankiness as well with the Resolve tree that you have option to do, as Tarzan going for a very fast clear on the top side. Happy to get down to low health because he's Olaf, and it works pretty well.
Got Last Stand to go along with his passive. That's some turnaround if you don't finish off the Olaf. Definitely don't let the last Ignite tick hit him on the way out of the door. You need to actually finish those kills. Bot side, Viper's job is to walk up and harass, doesn't want to farm, and as we know, Lehens is going to be about last hitting, but again, Taric has actually a pretty long leash to get most of the last hits because, yes, Varus Tom is going to have some windows, but actually killing this duo, it's much harder to do.
Yeah, I think so too. At the moment, Viper has accidentally taken a couple of farm, but you can see on the bottom side it's all about Lehens versus Ghost more than anything else.
If you ask me about how Taric dies against Rakan, Rakan comes in and maybe you can burst down the burly, the burly Taric. In this lane, what does that look? It's like Tom Kench autos twice when you're trying to get a cannon, and then you get creep blocked for some reason, and then you get...
And then you can get devoured,
you know what I mean? Like,
maybe.
It's so unrealistic, and that just means that Lehens gets his farm on, Viper gets his harass on, and those numbers come early. If we see the quest cashed in pre-10, Sona Taric late game. Oh boy.
Yeah, it's going to be real gross. You can see Viper's not able to weave too many autos in after his Qs, so that's going to be good news for Sandbox, trying to keep pressure on the Sona, so she can't freely use the Frostmancy. Dove going aggressive. This is not the greatest matchup for a Vladimir in the mid lane.
You'll notice that Olaf went for the most defensive pathing ever. He actually, at 3 minutes, hasn't gone anywhere near a Scuttle Crab because went for a full shot, wants to get... If you notice, it's not Predator, so doesn't need the boots, goes for the full jungle enchant, goes for the chilling smite, and is probably just priced into top side Scuttle. Gonna pick that one up, so you have to be a bit more defensive. The only lane with priority is top side, so, and that's where Tarzan's gonna find most of his influence.
Well, that's exactly where he is right now, taking down the Rift Scuttler, and will be possibly moving towards the top side, as you can see. Sword going very aggressive here. Summit down to about 300 health, but That's a trade of mana more than anything else as Tarzan's looking to make his way in. You can see bottom side of the map, it's actually Lehens with a CS lead over Ghost.
I know.
That's
Lehens, as Taric, maybe the worst laner possible to send in bot lane, probably worse than Shen.
Yeah.
Has more CS than the enemy AD can.
Yeah. Tarzan not in vision just yet, but you can see Summit not taking the bait. Something that we've said about Summit is his intelligent play is one of the most impressive things about him. And you can see him playing very reservedly, understanding that there's not a lot of vision around where he is, but Tarzan is playing real patient, knows that On Fleek is there taking the Krug camp.
He's got all the info. He saw the ward go down, and he put down the ward on the Krugs, so 100% info here as to what's going on. On Fleek's got a level lead, and Tarzan actually is quite far behind. He's looking for this one, though.
Yeah, he's going to find him. Undertow does land. It's a lot of damage. That Sonic Wave looked like a panic move, as does use the safeguard to get himself out with the Miasma in the mid lane, but Chovy pretty comfortable as he hasn't even used his teleport yet.
And a moment like that actually makes it relevant to talk about his solo queue domination, because now you know if Tarzan queues on his main, he just wins. 17 days undefeated. Yep. He has all the info. We know he has the big brain on this team. He waits, he sees W on cooldown to open, and he's like, all right, you don't have a Q escape, so I'm just going to roll you out of your jungle, even at a level disadvantage.
Yeah, precisely what he did. Sandbox here on the bottom side. Wave shoving towards Griffin as Viper's still looking for those auto attacks. I don't think the old Klepto's been getting him too much so far.
He's at 378 already on the quest. We might actually have like a 7-8 minute quest.
Yeah, he's been proccing the Frostfang a lot, even if the Frostmancy hasn't actually been cashed in yet.
I'm scared though, Atlas, because this might just be one of those Sonataras who just wins in gold at all points.
Yeah, like wins lane as a Sona.
Yeah, and then
a Taric.
And then you win in gold by a lot because you're going to harass and farm as Sona the moment the quest is cashed in. So yeah, the Sona first pick really boned the draft here for Sandbox. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what we were talking about in the draft as well. I mean, it was the oh crap response to how this one was going to go. And it looks like Sandbox haven't quite figured out the optimal way of navigating it. Early days, though, as Griffin are ahead in gold by only 400 at this point. Just feels like it definitely gets worse before it gets better. And by gets better, I mean there's a new game on the horizon.
Griffin already have a 400 gold in bot lane.
I know, that's, yeah.
And they want to back now, though, so Tarzan walks up and says, okay, we're walking into the lane.
I mean, somehow Lehens just walks up and dazzles them too. On Fleek down here, but I think they're well and truly aware that a back timing is being looked for. Fleek once again. Smacked in the head, but otherwise not too much to worry about.
Remember,
oh my god, is it...
Oh my god, it was a 7-minute transformation.
That is the dumbest thing.
I just want to swear. That's how
Me too.
This is ridiculous. All right, so Sona Taric one lane, and Jace is doing well. So it turns out Warrior Olaf's got 2 lanes to juggle around Atlas.
Are we back in the first series, Papa? Are we back in the Hamwar Afrika, just Hamwar rolling over and dying series? Is that what it is? Because that's what it feels like.
I'm just in hell.
Yeah.
All right, well, so you know how it's that late game win condition? I think the mid game win condition's looking pretty good.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. I think it's just winning at this point. I don't think you talk about win conditions. I think they've done it. We did it. We got over the line.
We outscaled them at 7 minutes.
How has he already completed the quest in 7 minutes, Pop? I don't understand.
Well, you see, Taric got every CS for free, and unfortunately, Sandbox didn't pick Draven, so yeah, they lost lane.
Well, Chovy's now going to play aggressively against Dove. Dove might feel enough pressure to take the bait, but it looks like the answer is going to be no.
Let's use all our words, because right now we're using kind of masking words.
Yes, okay.
To be clear, Sona's job was to harass to 500 gold in quest, went back for the early teleport to get the upgraded Frostfang, and now has finished the quest. You can see 1 ward available for the Sona next to her 000 stat line. That means she can now farm and also get the 22 gold for every harassment she does. Lens might just farm because he wants his items. That's the amusing point we're in. Yep. But that just means that Griffin get way more gold in the bot lane. And we've seen the quest come in as late as 14 minutes in a Sona Taric bot lane. If it comes at 7 minutes, you can do the math there and tell that's a problem.
And it's just ridiculous. Looking at Lehens sitting on 65 CS against a ranged opponent.
I can't look at him anymore.
It's, oh my goodness. That Empowered Shock Blast was very close to hitting Summit. better players can juke better.
First ever Sonataric in Korea, and all you can think is, man, this was late.
Yeah. And also, like,
if everyone's farming, why not Karthus jungle? If everyone's farming, why not Sonataric? Why not Else Victory? And that's what those champions often represent, is Sonataric reaches the late game with their gold, almost never lose. If you're wondering why, you're going to have an extra Sightstone or extra wards, so you're going to be able to have basically full health, because Sona's scaling purely with levels and items is among the highest of any champion in the game. Corki was always a champion that did items and levels. I think Sona's kind of Corki to the next level, with the fact that she wins games with her sustain, initiation, and even damage as the game goes on. Deft called the champion outright overpowered. And that means that Sona is kind of getting all those things Atlas, going to get all those things nice and early. And the thing that people miss is, it's not just her damage. The aura she provides with her Q, which is the first max, has a pretty decent AP ratio. So it just means that any auto attacker, so I'm looking at you, Olaf, and Jace, actually is getting like 150 magic damage in auto in the mid to late game amongst all the other advantages. So if we're looking at the gold now, it's 5,700 to 6,000, so it only gets bigger as Viper and Lehens can push up.
Yeah, and you also have to look at the difference between Lehens and Joker. That's where the big money is for Griffin on the bottom side of the map. Back comes in from OnFleek, doesn't find any inroads to getting any sort of gank working on the bottom side. Chovy comfortably farming here against Dove, which is not something I was expecting to say as this matchup, but he's only down 6 CS, and you'll take that any day of the week. As Vladimir into the Cassiopeia.
And yeah, Griffin are the Gathering Storm team. It's Vladimir, enough said. It's Sonataric, enough said. It doesn't even matter what your other two picks are. They could be Fiddlesticks and all sorts of things. Doesn't really matter. They're just going to be along for the ride with the Vladimir Sonataric. And like we mentioned, the other two champs actually synergize with the Sona aura. So lovely stuff there. So unfortunately,
well, I mean, Vladimir does too. It does increase your AP at the same time.
That's true.
If Sona wasn't good enough already.
Sandbox need to be doing stuff. The draft hamstrung them, and sadly the play has also been predictably slow, and now we're already talking about the scaling being done comically early.
And also Summit's trying to come down to stop this Rift Herald, and he's unable to get there. Just smacks back with a hammer. That is going to mean Shelly is going to go down. Almost 12 minutes on the clock, and that means Griffin will augment this lead with our further advantages in turret plates. And Tarzan can basically put it anywhere.
On top side, Sword knows he's got friends.
Yep, OnFleek's going to look for this Q. Not going to follow up with the Resonating Strike as Tarzan looking to jump down. And that follow with the crescendo was stunning.
Better than a follow.
From Viper.
There's a cast animation as a prediction. Beautiful stuff from Viper. Ghost pushes in bot side. Rift Herald down. Top turret with lots of tasty plates soon to follow.
Yep, that's going to go to all three. As Viper picks up even more money on this Sona. Lost chapter already done. He's going to start doing some damage relatively soon. Cute little Dazzle comes in there as OnFleek takes a fair bit of damage. In fact, as Lehens has maxed that one first.
Cassiopeia continues to poke Chovy and get his health bar down. And you know, in the damage dealt charts, he's winning. But in the CS charts, not so much. It's only a half a minion wave or so. And with this one cleaned up, it's going to be basically CS for CS in mid lane. So no meaningful advantage for the Cassio. Sword goes bot lane, and with no allies around, we know how fast Jace takes down turret plates, but he's going to be safe for now. Things continue to line up. It's a 1,300 gold lead for Sonataric infused Griffin.
Yep, and this should be the state of the game, guys. It's only just turned up. Griffin should be behind about 2,000 gold at this point, I'd say, with having 2 losing lanes on the map, and in theory a good jungle matchup for OnFleek as well. So this shouldn't have happened. Tarzan's actually freely taking this Mountain Drake, but OnFleek and Joker do turn up. Summit's down, he's got a crescendo as Viper avoids the abscond, and it's going to be the steal on the Mountain Drake. There's the ultimate to come in from Lehens, but Chovy doesn't get any of it. Viper's going to get soloed by Summit on the bottom side, and now the kickback is going to come forward. It's a fair bit of damage, but it's not enough, and Sandbox have found themselves their fight. 3 quick kills and more plates, and a turret on the bottom side to follow.
Griffin had so many things in the bag, but then they just over-pursue Atlas. They don't need to fight there. They don't need the first Drake of the game, or second Drake, the Mountain Drake of the game. Everything was in a wonderful spot for them, but instead, without even the Sona and the Taric together, we had a fight where Sona just died to Silas because she was proxied trying to come into the Drake pit. just take the Lee Sin kick and disengage. If you're Griffin, they don't do that, and they just leave the door ajar. It's not ajar by much, but it's ajar for Sandbox Gaming.
Well, Sandbox have actually brought it up to that 2,000 gold lead that I was just talking about. So there we go. Sandbox also able to steal away the Drake, so that's 2 in comparison to the 0. And let's have a look at how this one went. It was a fight on 2 fronts, and Summit got everything out of it.
But then it's the other side of how disconnected it is from what this comp will be. Yes, at some point, you have enough AP and auras to fight as a 5-man group. You're basically a silver comp. Press the R and run at them. Whoever it is, pressing that button. You're not, in this case, 2 skirmishes, one where Sona's not present. Here's the replay of the top side, though. Sword interrupted the teleport from Ghost.
Oh, the sidestep.
Yeah. Only just, though.
Yep, had to be the sidestep there as well, otherwise Sword would have clipped a minion. So I definitely not saying that it is a miss from Sword by any case.
And the coach might be clipping Ghost and saying, come on, mate. Need to be a bit more aware of your surroundings, because he was rudely interrupted in his attempt to make it into that fight.
Well, it's not over just yet. Sandbox find themselves in a position where at least they have a gold lead now. The problem is that Sona is still on the enemy team, which is always a bad thing as you approach any sort of parity.
Current plate's necessary evil for Sandbox to stay competitive in this game. Onfleek looking for an inroad.
Ooh, that was close. Doesn't have flash, so...
Radiant's on cooldown as well, Atlas.
Yep, that's true. Close to being back up again, and that's when Griffin will be feeling a little bit more comfortable to get outside of their base. That control ward's in an odd spot there, Sword, but Onfleek going to ignore him and just looking to get some more gold into Ghost. Local gold going to go over to the Varus very comfortably. He's already farming very, very well. 16 minutes.
Actually just spot a ward jump kick behind the turret. It's actually intentionally there to spot. It's not actually that he missed the tri-bush. It's because he has 1 ward on the entrance, which I believe just timed out, and then 1 ward to spot kind of the more creative path over. So it definitely looks wonky, and if it's solo queue, someone messed up. But cool little ward there from Sword, knowing what gank paths a Lee Sin is likely to take.
Yeah, the possible ones. Someone on the bottom side will finally see the Vladimir here. Although Vlad looking to get out of there. Chovy going to be pretty calm and collected so far in this early stage of the game, just because he is Vlad looking to scale. Gold lead not changing too much, but at the moment you can see Sandbox actually able to move towards this outer turret in the mid lane.
Olaf able to walk up and wave clear and help them, because obviously Sona needs time to fully push a wave. Only has 2 minions hit with his Q. Walks up again. Here is Tarzan trying to buy time.
That's a Hemo Plague just to reset the hijack, guys. Zoning Hemo Plague, something we've liked to talk about for many times, but it's not as silly as that, as straight to the Sanguine Pool goes Chovy. Onfleek not going to find too much. Didn't have flash anyway, but was looking for a potential safeguard play.
Nice accuracy, but was revealed on a ward was Chovy. That's how it became so trivial for Onfleek. Waiting for the big Onfleek play. We know this guy can be so creative and so deadly with his engage timings. But now at least, anything that keeps outer turrets up is happy news for Griffin.
But more skirmishes like they found earlier on with a disconnected Sona is great news for Sandbox. They do have pick options. They do have ways to take control of a jungle if things go wrong. Like, you're never going to be able to face check a Cassiopeia. That's just how it works, right? So if Sandbox can get control of areas around this map and find positions where Griffin can't actually afford to get onto them, then they will be able to get themselves into spots where they can take some control. However, they need to start that one off, and they're going to start it here as Ghost throws out the ultimate. Crescendo lands only onto Onfleek, as that's a really cute little safeguard to stop the resonating strike, and Flash and Crescendo out of Viper.
He baited out the Flash. That was next level by Onfleek. He was under no risk because he was always planning to bail out before he connected with the end of the resonating strike, and he gets the Flash out of Viper. Viper doesn't have his transformation on his Archangel, so he's so scared with the brittle Sona to walk up at any moment.
And now Mountain Drake has just spawned. The timing couldn't have been better for Sandbox Gaming. We thought that this composition out of Griffin was going to be unbeatable given their advantage that they had early, but it's 2 little skirmishes that are working. So far, flash forward from Chovy, though they do take down the Mountain Drake, but can Griffin find the team fight? Summit has found Sword on the backline. Sword boops him out of there, but the fight is still going. Onfleek dives on forward again. It's just the bait and switch. It's straight into the stopwatch goes the Olaf, but he is going to fall. Chovy trying to stay alive, and Viper can't help him. Summit has bought the time of everyone and escapes. Sandbox can't be beaten in an early skirmish.
Griffin are just misunderstanding the execution on this comp from ahead. They seem surprised and try to take fights they have no business to. And with 5 members alive, Griffin has spared the blushes of a 20-minute Sandbox Baron just because it's 19:30.
Yeah, exactly. They'll have to mill about in the pit for 25 seconds if they want to take that one. Not going to do so, going to go for the reset. But Sandbox are navigating this so well, and we have to reiterate that Griffin had no right to have the early game go as well as it did. And still, Sandbox have found a way to fight back in a stage of the game that should have been more difficult to fight back in.
It is almost impossible to consider a better early game for Sonataric. A champion pairing that's known to close out games, but you need levels and items and just in general gold in the game to be able to dive in, and Griffin are just taking fights. They have no, and I mean no, incentive to take it all.
Yeah, and he saw Lehens, like he got broken off. He was thinking about helping Sword, and then he leaves these two to die, and Summit doesn't even go down. Picking up the shield from the abduct.
And I think Sandbox are just dumbfounded because these are Chovy flash-in fights twice, where the Vladimir's going alone, or at least you'd have to assume with a course. That sounded like a ping pong ball?
And also looked like it was a blind high five as well. That was sick.
Do you reckon we could do a blind high five?
I don't
try?
No.
We might just slap some headsets
I can barely
up each
do
other.
high fives that I can see, Pup Smithy. That was amazing. He's still looking at the screen, just high-fiving off to the side.
How do we coordinate when to talk then if we can't coordinate our high five?
Because I don't have hand coordination. That's why I'm a caster, not a player.
Ah.
I got mouth coordination. That's why I'm a caster.
Well, Griffin decided they're going to have to fight, and look, the enemy's on Baron. This one makes some sense.
Yep, teleport in from Sword. They do just break away, though. Sandbox, they've already got something out of this one. They don't need to press it. They don't want to. Remember, this time Cosmic Radiance and the Crescendo both available. A little bit more difficult is this battle, but Summit, curiously enough, does have himself the Cosmic Radiance, slightly less valuable given no Bastion availability. However, Q's going to land there from OnFleek. Doesn't go in.
Any stalemates are fine for Griffin. Giving over a Baron is the one way that the early game might just be turned into nothingness on the side of Griffin. Even the teamfight losses should not matter with how strong Sonataric has looked globally. But as the first game we've seen from Sonataric, we've seen kind of the worst and the best of Sonataric in the same game already. Still waiting to see what it all means. Griffin need to be defensive, but not necessarily fully pull the trigger. It's Athenes from the Sona. Some more sustain, shorter cooldowns, but not the Lich Bane when the damage quotient of Sona starts to turn around.
And you've also now got Sandbox putting the pressure on Griffin. The bottom inner turret is being sieged down. I have a feeling Summit might even be able to take it here. Teleport advantage done. He indeed is able to get rid of that one. Walks away from the cannon creep as he knows a teleport might need to ensue as Griffin are around this area. Sandbox, though, they're not letting them in. The goalkeepers here in the river are really making things work as Sandbox understand that if the 4 is just milling about in the river, Summit can get all the work done in the side lanes as Dove is even able to get rid of a minion wave himself.
So, how do you approach the rest of the game as Griffin? Is an interesting thing to consider. They finally have been they were too big for their britches early game. Now it feels like they're wearing the right size because you should not have map control. You should not have gold leads as Sonataric in the early game. And right now, their vision line very shallow. It's kind of emergency vision. They just need to continue to contest vision around the Baron while they also kind of trade farm. And even if you're getting, say, 4 or 5 CS per minion wave, probably fine with where the game is going. They can't give over Baron, but every other eventuality is fine for them. And as long as they don't let the control ward line go uncontested, remember they will always have more wards because Sona brings extra wards to the fight.
Brings all the wards to the yard, Papa. That's entirely true. Song of Celerity brings all the movement speed as well as they're just looking to try and stop Sandbox from taking this free Baron. Remember, way more dangerous given the fact that they have those 2 Mountain Drakes and a Cassiopeia. There is a hell of a lot of damage when it comes to killing Baron, not to mention the Varus that's also on deck. So Griffin, what they have in teamfight power and sustain, Sandbox have in murdering Baron.
I love the lane ward that isn't spotted by Griffin. They know that Viper isn't grouped with Tarek, so just go in.
Yeah, there's the kickback. Dazzle's going to come down. Can he actually survive in time? The answer is yes! That was real clutch as now Summit's being dealt with, but can it actually work out? Abscond doesn't actually work, as it's Sword that has to fall in order to save Griffin from that engage.
Lane ward was so important, because of course you could engage on Tarek. He's the one you want to blow his ultimate when Sona's not around. Now Sandbox walks Baron again. Let's watch this one go.
Yep, can they actually stop this on the side of Griffin is the question. Miasma comes down as Chovy tries to steal. Can't actually do it, of course, doesn't have. Had the smite, but smited a little bit too early. It's unfortunate. That's going to be the Hydrak crescendo coming in as Viper not going to be able to find them, and Sandbox get a free reset.
It's just opposite day, Atlas. It's the best early game ever for Sona Tarek. Somehow, a woeful mid game here is really costing it for Griffin. Teleport coming in. They're going to try and force something.
Yeah, they're looking to try and take down Joker, who does flash to get himself out of the way, but Griffin is stacked up. The value is there, but it's a proto belt that murders the Sona, and Summit is just too damn good at Silas.
Awesome stuff from Sandbox, and Summit doing it the hard way. They were the first to take down Griffin in the first round robin. Only a single game victory on the day. Wouldn't be the first game victory against Griffin in summer, but the way they're doing it is oh so impressive.
And I swear, he's the hijack of all trades, man. He just takes all of the hijacks. Like, every ultimate that the enemy team has, he seems to cycle through them in a team fight. This inhibitor turret is going to go down, and Sandbox are doing what we thought was going to be impossible after that early game. And they've turned it all around. You have to say that some of it comes from whoopsies on the side of Griffin, but decisive fighting is what wins you games in this meta, and Sandbox have done their homework.
You just haven't seen a game be so over for Griffin's side. You're like, wow, they've got so much early game. How could they ever lose this game? But we're living it, Atlas. It's happening in front of us. They're making so many mistakes on execution, and it just feels like you reward them for their drop. We love the Sona Tarek lock-in. It left no options for Sandbox, and they did so much right, but a comedy of errors. But this was just some great opportunism. First, seeing in the mid lane how split Sona was from Tarek, and the fact that Sona and Tarek haven't been BFFs has caused most of the problems for Griffin so far in this game.
And also, Griffin are trying to play this team fight stack on the Sona composition in pincer maneuver fashion. It's just not how it's supposed to work, as Ghost flashing here is actually what killed Viper. Really nice play.
Really good TP from Summit as well.
Yeah.
It really is opposite, Dave. It really is. Because how can you give Sona Tarek the most resources early, and like the hardest scaling duo, the synergy is there with the rest of the
But now the transition towards the bottom side, aided by the Abyssal Voyage that Joker has access to, of course. And Sandbox looking to break the base in the last